Am I the a-hole for kicking my ex out of my house and telling her parents she was cheating? For context, I and my now ex-GF were dating for 3 years. We met through mutual friends, and while we had known each other for some time, we didn't start dating for months after initially meeting and attending several events within our friends group. When we did start dating, I made it clear I was only interested in a monogamous relationship. I had no interest in sharing a partner or being shared. So, for 3 years we were exclusive, or at least I thought we were. Over this time, we were both gainfully employed and both made good money. Yes, I made more money, but she was by no means a pauper. I had my own house. I purchased a nice fixer-upper and spent the better part of the last 4 years and most of my savings restoring and upgrading it. She helped me with some of the basic stuff like painting and cleaning, but most of the meaningful work was done by family and contractors. But I did appreciate that she wanted to contribute. Oh, and one other thing, I bought the house the year before we ever met. This is relevant. Well, at roughly our 3-year mark, her lease was about to expire, and she suggested we move in together. I would be lying if I said I wasn't apprehensive, but I did feel it was time to move into the next stage of our relationship. I put on a smile and told her it was a great idea, so she made her plans just as the final work was being wrapped up on the house. I was putting in solar panels, a tankless water heater, and a water softener. The same weekend I was enjoying my now-finished home was also the weekend she moved in. She, along with all her girlfriends, did the moving. My house was full of clucking hens discussing how they were going to redecorate and turn my man cave into a house that reflected her style and taste, all while giggling as though I had no choice. One of my favorite possessions was my collection of vintage full-size arcade games from the 80s and 90s. I had 7 of them. They were all in my basement, which I had also finished and painted to look like a pool hall and arcade. It even had a full wall bar with several flat screens. Several neons adorned the walls. While they moved, I, along with my 2 brothers, was hanging out in the basement shooting pool and watching a ball game. My 2 brothers are tradesmen. One is an electrician, the other a plumber. It's because of them we were able to do the resto of the house so cheaply. They hooked me up with other guys to help, and that evening most of them showed up at the house for a celebration of the job being done. When everyone arrived, we had a great time, grilling meat, drinking beer, and relaxing outside. The house was on 3 acres and included a detached garage. My then GF was about halfway through her move as the guests showed up, and most of the guys helped unload her boxes and, in general, get her stuff out of the way so we could all enjoy ourselves. Many were married and/or had kids, so kids were running around and making a racket. It was a pretty cool scene. I even had a couple of neighbors show up with beer and kids in tow. That's when it all came crashing down. Turns out, my supposedly exclusive girlfriend came face to face with her FWB. He was the brother of my roofer. I am sure he didn't know about me, as he made no effort to hide their relationship when he saw her with her girlfriends, chatting it up in their little pod. I was at the grill flipping burgers as this guy I never met walked across the yard and came up behind her to give her a squeeze. Before I could even get mad, most of the girls were either warning her about her side guy showing up or looking at me to see if I saw what was happening. She had horror in her eyes and immediately turned to see me at the grill, staring her down. She started crying right off, and her friends did their best to get rid of this now very confused guy and shield her by dragging her away. The poor guy was standing there, and I was juggling my emotions trying to decide if rage was the right one to choose. Her best friend ran to me and told me, "It's not what it looks like." I hadn't even said a word or reacted yet, and excuses were already flying. The brother was being yelled at by the girlfriends to leave, while his brother was now involving himself. The whole circus was pretty entertaining to most of the guests, I am sure. My brother came and took over the grill, while my other brother got between me and the FWB. I was still in some kind of shock, I guess, because as all the dots were connecting, I wasn't, according to my brothers, saying a word, just staring this guy down. My oldest brother said I looked like I was going to kill him, and my other brother said he was waiting to see if I was going to make a move so he could tackle me. Well, to cut to the chase, I didn't lose my cool. I regained my composure and made my way to my basement. The party did not end either. Weeks later, I recall thinking about how residential building guys aren't going to leave when there is free beer and food. My brother came down to the basement with the FWB. He had talked to enough people to have a rough outline of what was going on. Turns out FWB and X had been hitting it for the better part of the last 2 years. He was unaware of me and came to the basement to apologize, told me man to man he would never have hooked up if he knew she was in a committed relationship, that his ex-wife cheated on him, and that's why he only has FWBs now, but never if they aren't single. She lied to both of us. I guess they work for the same company but in different locations and met at some big company sales event. Well, That's the summary of all that happened leading up to me kicking her ass out that night. She came back the next day with her hens, saying she had a right to live in my house because she did so much work making it what it is. She also said I asked her to move in and she had to cancel her lease and took a loss, so I owed her that money too. Lastly, her circle of friends told me she didn't do anything wrong because we weren't even engaged, let alone married. That I was controlling and insecure, and I needed to man up. Now, both of my brothers and her ex-FWB were still there, along with his brother. They crashed in the spare rooms and available couch space. When her ex-FWB came out, he started cussing her a blue streak and let the hens, whom he knew most of them, have a portion of his anger too. In no time, it was 5 guys, my oldest brother's wife, and my other brother's GF all ganging up on the harpies. My sister-in-law is 5 foot tall, 90 pounds soaking wet, with flaming red hair. She is scary as shit when she is mad. It was the first time I laughed since the drama began the day before. Well, my ex was scared, and she and her friends took off. The guys rented a moving truck, we loaded all her stuff up, and took it to her parents. I told her dad what happened, and introduced him to the FWB. Now, her dad was a good guy. He had only recently retired, and was enjoying his time fishing with his grandkids. My ex had 2 brothers and a sister. She was the youngest, and the only one not married with kids. She was his little princess, and learning she cheated broke his heart. He cried and apologized to me. As his wife came out, he had to retell what was going on. The mom was enraged that the FWB was even there and demanded it was all his fault and he better leave. We all left. Later that day, the bunch of us were cleaning up from the night's festivities when the Yek showed up with her best friend in tow, screaming and cursing me for telling her parents, saying her dad said she had 1 week to find a place to live because it wouldn't be under his roof. So, was I the a-hole for involving her parents?